guys, my name's Benner from
Platform Bistro.
That's amazing. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming. This is the encore screening of It Feeds, which is a new film from writer, director, producer Chad Archibald. Also in the house tonight. I love the review because they give you a mic stand. It's so awesome. Anyway, we've also got some cast and crew in attendance, including Ellie O'Brien, who is one of the stars of this film. So let's hear it for Ellie. Some other fantastic people here. We're going to do a Q&A after the screening, so please stick around. I just want to also just say that we've toured this film around the entire world, actually. So it's played in Brussels, it's played in Germany, it's played in Brazil. We did the world premiere in Kansas City in the US. Chad, what am I missing? Something. Toronto. Yeah. Toronto, Hamilton. This is the last screening in Ontario for the foreseeable future as far as we can tell. So you guys, thank you so much for coming out. Appreciate that. And this whole tour, we've been telling people all the time, we're like, these cinemas are the cathedrals for creative endeavors. I just want you guys to make as much noise as possible for the review and its staff and everyone that has made this screen possible. Also, a big shout out to Serena, who has been such a supporter of us over the years and has allowed us to do these screenings here at the review. Thank you so much for doing that. And also a big thank you to you guys for coming out and supporting independent film. It means the world to us. We've got some news and some stuff to share, some secrets to share after the screening. But until then, this is a movie that is a personal film to Chad, but it's also a movie made by Chad, which means that it's touching, it's also scary as shit, and it's gonna make you jump out of your seat. Have fun with this movie. This is the review. I came here once for Roadhouse. It was the most amazing experience of my life. Yell, scream, do whatever you want to do during this movie. It's a fun movie made by a horror fan for horror fans. Thank you so much for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for It Feeds.
Final warning, the It Feeds Q&A contains spoilers.
Thank you so much for coming tonight, because that's awesome.
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen it with real humans, so it was really cool.
Yeah! Yeah, but I'm wondering if you could just maybe start us off with just talking about, I guess, how you approached this character. And of course, you have so many scenes with Ashley and that sort of mom-daughter dynamic. What did you do to kind of like approach the role and sort of get that sort of chemistry down with her? So because it's so believable on screen, and you're such an interesting, like you really come across as like a teenager that's like precocious and like doesn't want to listen to her mom, but also determined. Like what went into your preparation for that?
Yeah, I think for Jordan generally, I kind of tried to tap into this sense of just bravery and strength, and maybe it's a bit naive, but I never wanted her to be looking at it through that lens. Just this is the right thing to do, so this is scene to scene, this is my goal and this is where I'm going, and that I think gave way to a lot of the rebelliousness that it seems to ooze out of her, which I don't think I really realized until I saw it all together. I was like, okay, girl, she has a lot of fire to her, and I think working with Ashley, obviously she's such an icon and I had so much respect for her, and I think that plays into their dynamic where she does respect her mom and the practice, and that's kind of why it's so frustrating that she won't use it to the best of her ability. So I think just seeing Ashley as somebody to look up to helped. And then on top of that, I have such a reverence for teenage girls. I think it's such a specific experience to be a teenage girl. So I just, the way that you feel so strongly about everything all the time has this, it pushes you forward in a way that I think is very unique. So I tried to go back to what that felt like when I was, 16. And yeah, I think that's where most of it came from.
We went into production with this movie very quickly because there was a writer's strike coming. So there was a lot of things in it that I was always like, man, is this gonna work? Or I'll rewrite that some other time. It's like, we'll get there and I'll just keep polishing and whatever. And then all of a sudden you're on set and you're like, damn, I've never fixed this line, or is it gonna work or not? So there's a couple of them in the movie that I'm just so lucky and proud to work with talented people that can pull off lines that are sometimes, not well written. But that was a moment for sure that, in the script I was like, man, is it gonna be believable, someone talking to themselves in this moment? But, you did so awesome. And, half the time we're like, man, we got 8 minutes to shoot this entire scene. We gotta throw them in the fire and see how we do. But I remember being on set and talking to Ashley, and we were in such a rush to finish this scene. And it was like, everyone's about to go home and like the clock's ticking, and the way it works on set is like, when it hits a certain time, you drop everything. You have to, like, union rules, you have to walk away. It doesn't matter if your movie's gonna suffer or not, right? And I remember talking to her and being like, dude, I am so sorry. I'm not a better writer. And I wish I had always fixed this line, but I just need you to go in and nail it. You need to say, I don't give a fuck about your protocol. And I was like, oh my God. And to her, super talented, obviously came in there, and like I think we had like 2 takes maybe, and yeah, killed it.
I swear to God, this is the same actress that plays the creature, okay? Like, I swear, like, she's not a stain.
I'm sorry for scaring you, but I did my job. That's all that matters.
But we've always talked about, from your perspective, the coffin scene. And so I wonder if you could maybe set that up, and then Ellie, would love to get your take on it, because the only person that's talked about this really has been Brooklyn. So I'd love to get the other perspective as well. But what went into that? Because it's a whole kind of setup, right, as far as that sequence goes.
Yeah, and I mean, Chad can also talk about this as well, but the actual coffin scene, we set up it was multiple different shots depending on if we were like shooting on the side or when Ashley's ripping it open and everything. And again, I when Ellie and I were on set, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And we basically had to like lay on top of each other and be shoved into we were like this and shoved into a drawer, basically. And just like chilling until they're like, okay, we're ready now. And so I would just be laying on you and be like, so how's your day? Because I wanted to make it as less scary for anyone that had to be in a scene with me as possible, because I couldn't imagine acting opposite me. I don't think I could do it. It was so terrifying. And I remember like some of the younger actors as well just asking if they could meet me before going on set because they didn't want to be scared of me. So anytime, especially in such a close proximity, I was like, we'll make it fun.
Yeah. I think you definitely achieved that, but it was an awesome time. I would love, walking through set, and maybe, you were kind of always in makeup, like in processing, so I didn't really get to see you much. So when I'd see you walk past, like drinking your little Diet Coke, like, hey guys, what's going on? That would really bring you back to earth. So, those were the moments I lived for. I would always think that was hilarious. So yeah, in the coffin, definitely we got very close. We're besties now, for sure. I think, it wasn't as terrifying. It's maybe more of a sensory experience than anything. I remember a specific slime being like, it's sending me somewhere that's doing something. So those were the best moments, and I think the work kind of gets done for you, and that's, really NAR, no acting required, so it was great.
And it smelled like dirt.
Yes.
It smelled like dirt.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It had a lot of real dirt in it.
Yeah.
And the way we did that scene is we initially were going to just dig this hole in a forest, and it's not a huge budget movie. Our producers were like, you're not building the set that you want to build, this whole grave set thing with drawers and all that, it's not gonna happen. You're gonna dig a hole and we're gonna shoot whatever we can shoot. So we went out to this forest and we were like, all right, we're ready. We got lights, trailers, everything out there. Everyone's all excited. We're like, all right, we're gonna start digging this hole. And we start digging down, and like 2 feet down, there was just this like solid rock. And we're just like, oh my God, like Ashley's out here, Juno's out here, everyone's out here in the middle of the night, and we can't shoot this scene of them. Like, they need to be like, you know, up to their necks in this hole, right? So we came up with the idea that we'd get them on their knees and we'd cut the shovels in half, so they'd just be holding the tops of shovels and like pretending to shovel. And at that point I was like, we need to build a set. So it was like emergency, you know, our department ran back to the studio and just started building this grave set. And I had drawn it all out already.
This is how you get your extra set, though, right? You're like, guys, we're just gonna go to this specific spot. Yeah. There's no rock here, guaranteed.
Yeah.
Inspiration for the movie and the script.
Yeah, I mean,
And I'll do that. I'll run back there. And
I'll let you deal with that. I had done a movie called I'll Take Your Dead years ago, probably about 6 years ago now. And after that, I was really struggling trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I had produced a couple of films that I was really proud of, but during this time I had lost both my parents to cancer. And I had lived with them for, you know, their final weeks and months before they passed away. And I was just really having a hard time. You know, I make horror movies and celebrate everything gory and death-like and whatever, and I had kind of really gone through some horrible experiences with them and was having a hard time trying to figure out something that I could connect to. And I was really worried that I was like, man, can I not write horror movies anymore? Is this, I don't know. But I had this dream about this little girl who was saying she saw something in the room, and it was just a simple dream that was not really that unique, but I started writing something with that, and there was this entity, and I was like, what's this entity? It's like when you read enough horror movies and watch enough horror movies, it's like, you know, what is it? Is it a book? Is it a artifact? Is it part of someone's culture or religion? You know, where do you draw that from? There's a million people making horror movies looking for everything. There's movies on Ouija boards and tarot cards and, you know, everything under the sun's been done. And I was like, at a certain point, I kind of thought, what would mean something to me? So I started creating this idea of what if I made like a demonic version of cancer, and it just fed, and all of its motives were the same motives that cancer would have. And at that point, I started getting really excited about this idea, and I started writing, and I was like, damn, now I can make some awesome characters that's gonna go kick the shit out of this thing. And at that point, I was like, yeah, I'm pumped. And I think I wrote the first draft in about 7 days. Once I kind of cracked that idea, and once it was something that kind of meant something to me. And it really, like, even in the movie, it's not like I'm saying, hey, this demon's cancer. That was just for me. And I mean, this whole movie has stuff that was symbolic to me. You know, that's why it's special to me. There's moments, you know, as you go throughout it where it was like, you know, no one would ever know, but, you know, this is an image that I had during a very hard time losing my parents. And, you know, like seeing my dad looking through the hospital door and being too afraid to come in as my mom was sick, and things that just, anyways, it's littered with that, and this script just became something very special to me, and I became passionate about it, and, you know, it all luckily came together. And anyways, that's kind of what the whole thing was. Even at the end, like with the creature in its kind of throne room is supposed to be like a tumor, and like all the tentacles are like the veins of the tumor. Anyways, that's where it all came from. That's why it was special to me, and, you know, I feel so lucky that so many people have watched the movie, and it's been, you know, accepted by so many people, and yeah.
It would depend if we were doing full body days or half body, because some of the scenes we only needed either like my hands or just my torso. If we were doing full body days, it would be anywhere between 5 to 7 hours. If we were doing half body, it would be like 3 to 4, because there was a lot of different pieces to it. It wasn't like a suit, like a lot of horror movies or sci-fi movies have like kind of like it's a suit that you kind of just get put into. Mine was basically 3 major prosthetics of a chest piece, a face piece, and then it's called a cowl when it goes like around your head and down your neck. And then all of like the veins you saw were all individually placed every single day. And then I had nails, and I had contacts, I had teeth, I had hair, I had goop, so every day was very, very different depending on where we were in the movie. And my prosthetic team was just absolutely fabulous. I had a group of like 5 to 7 women with me every single day, and they were just absolutely amazing and absolute rock stars. I would be spending between 8 to 15 hours a day with them, and they were the only people that saw me. Nobody on set knew what I looked like. Nobody knew. Like it was the last day when we were doing one of the coffin scenes, and I was like grabbing your face, and they're like, "Oh, you can go deprocess. We don't need your head anymore." I'm like, "Okay, great." So they go and start deprocessing my head, and they're like, "Oh wait, no, we still need your hands." I'm like, "Okay." I walk back on set, and they're like, "Who? You?" I'm like, "Hey." Yeah. And so
I don't think I saw you the entire shoot until that moment.
Yeah, nobody had.
That
So
wasn't
because me and the makeup girls would show up so early, and then I'd be the last to leave as well, because even taking everything off still took an hour and a half to 2 hours. So nobody ever saw me.
7 times now. And it's interesting to see like the layers of like where you are in the story, like whose mind you're in and which reality you're in. How did you, like, I guess Ellie, like, how did when you were reading that, did that kind of like, did you think that it was going to be as hard to follow as far as like, just being in different different environments, I guess, when you were reading the script, and how did Chad, I guess, I want to know how Chad directed it as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think when I first read it, I had an inkling that would be something I would want to keep track of, just because I knew also that, it was a quick turnaround. I think I had found out the weekend before that I had booked the role and was going to be on set that Monday. So it was like, okay, let's go. So I read it all and then wanted to write down kind of a map of the scenes and where I was, start to finish. And so then I could just go, okay, scene 102, look at the map, that's where I am, and then we're fine. And then, I think you always kind of have to release some of that when you step on set and it's okay, action. I don't know what the hell is gonna happen now. You just kind of have to let it be. So I remember feeling that I could trust you, Chad, to say, I think I have a specific memory of I go up into the attic maybe 3 times, and so trying to find different levels to that. I think in the final one, when we're at the end of the film, I've trying to make more peace with letting my father go. I think I had come in with an idea that it was going to be a lot more dramatic and a lot more painful than it was. So I remember you had said to me, it's okay to just release some of that pain. And so I found that from then on, and we shot that quite early, I knew that you had a very obviously great grip on the story, and that I could just rely on you as a guiding light, which really helped. So from then on, I was smooth sailing, I think. So, yeah.
And there was days where we had all of these sets in one like warehouse. So there was a day, I think, that you were shooting Agatha's kitchen, and you're sitting there talking with Agatha, and you're doing that scene or whatever, and then it's like, cool, we're done that. Now walk, 6 feet this way, and you're walking through the creepy house, about to go up the stairs, and action. Yeah,
Yeah, lots of that. But I think that's, having the tools, like the map and all that to help myself was, it did help. And I think that's kind of, the magic of indie filmmaking. You just find it and you just run. And sometimes that makes the best end result. So.
No, I had this full sequence where when Cynthia goes into the creature's mind, there's this area in Hamilton called Karst Conservation Area, and there's like a crack in the ground that goes into this crazy cave. And I had like gone and hiked and found this place, and I was like, this is it. It's like Cynthia's gonna wake up in this weird pond with this crown thing, and she's gonna come out and it's gonna be like strings of slime, and as she goes through with this lantern, there's gonna be these rotting people hiding behind these trees, like watching her as she approaches this cave entrance that was gonna have all these tentacles. And I had fought so hard to keep this, and as production goes, it's like, well, this thing happened, and this thing happened, and now we're behind a day, and blah, 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 and I remember our producer sitting me down at a table and being like, dude, Karsta's gone, man. It's gone. And I'm like, no. And they're like, we tried, man. We really tried, but it's not gonna happen. And to be honest, even with like, cutting the film down to what it is now, I feel like we probably would have had to cut it out. Unless it was just so awesome, which I think it would have been. Yeah, we've had a lot of people ask about a negative prequel or sequel, spin-off. Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we've talked about all of them. We've talked about sequels, we've talked about prequels, because even with Sean's character, when we sat and chatted about, who his character is, and it's like he's coming in so hot, and like in his version of the movie, it's like they're at the climax. Like he's been killing people in the basement, he's lost his wife, he knows that he's seen this creature thing kill her. He's on his daughter, like there's just so much that he had gone through to get to the point that he busts in the house and, sees Cynthia for the first time, right? So, it would definitely be fun to explore that, obviously Cynthia and Jordan and, their father and that whole story. I mean, really it's sequels or prequels, so much of it depends on, what you guys think. And if there's enough people that want it and enough people that, share the story and scream through the internet or whatever.
Which is a great segue to let everyone know and remind everyone that you should go and rate this on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb or Letterboxd or any of those sites. If you like the movie, if you didn't, keep those thoughts to yourself, I guess. But if you did, tell a friend. I do actually have the privilege of announcing to, this is day 43, I think, 42 or 43 of our theatrical release in Canada. But the film worldwide has done over 1.1 million at the box office, which is awesome. So who knows? Maybe we will see like a prequel or some more of that story, hopefully. So, but for just in Canada, it will be getting a VOD release coming soon, as well as a broadcast release and a Blu-ray release, because we love physical media and that's what we do. So, so keep an